Good morning, everybody. It is day 32. Day 32 of spiritual healthcare. It is good to be here. I hope everybody had a great evening and morning and everybody's doing good and you guys are all jazzed up. We'll wait for some more people to log on. It is good to be back again this morning. We've got some cool stuff to talk about today. And I'm really looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say because yesterday we were talking about forgiveness and things like that. So I'm looking forward to hearing everybody's thoughts. I hope you guys had a great day. It is really beautiful here in Alberta. I don't know what everybody's weather is like wherever you are. I know you guys come in from all over the world. I know there's people from Australia and the US and just everywhere. So, of course, the rest of Canada, lots of people from Canada, which is great. And yeah, so this is going to be really cool. I'm looking forward to delving into the idea of our concept of trust today and the three different trusts when it comes to our lives and the paranormal and all of that kind of thing. So I'm looking forward to seeing where we can get to with that today. I had a question or two come in the other day. Good morning, Darren. Good morning, Patricia. Good morning, guys. I'm really looking forward to being able to delve into this today. We talked about forgiveness yesterday and we kind of leaned into the idea a little bit of trust, but I had a bunch of people write into me after the show yesterday and we're talking about trust in various areas and especially trust when it comes to paranormal issues, but also stuff that relates to the rest of their life, and it is all intertwined. It's all intertwined. Good morning, everybody. It's nice to see you all. I'm glad you guys are here. I hope you guys had a great evening, and having a great morning, or at least it's morning here. I know you guys are from all over the place, so some of you guys I know it's afternoon and it's probably earlier in in a lot of areas and things like that. So that's awesome. I'm glad to see everybody. All right. So I really want to sort of delve into this idea this afternoon of trust. What is that when it comes to paranormal research? What is that when it comes to relationship and how to break down some of the things that are happening, especially when we look at media, we've got so much coming in at us all the time. Where is our sense of trust and how does that relate to paranormal phenomena? Good morning, Shadow. Good morning, Daryl. Nice to see you guys. I'm so glad to see everybody. And Kaz is here. That's great. It's always so nice to like see your names pop up and whatnot. It doesn't pop up for everybody. I don't know what the algorithm for that is, but like I see some of your names come up and whatnot, and it's so nice. It's so nice because it's like it's a regular thing every day. I think it's really cool. Trust is so interesting because we don't realize how it ends up relating to paranormal research. We really think that, paranormal research is something that is outside of ourselves. It's outside of us. And we've got, we're there to observe and to study it, but we don't have anything to do with it, right? This is what we often we're told this a lot. And what's interesting is that trust is often based on seeing up and predicting a pattern or an image that you then begin to rely on. And it's a really slippery slope, isn't it? Because, when we trust ourselves, we start to, or sometimes we trust ourselves, sometimes we don't. But we tend to believe ourselves at the very least. So, for example, if, you sit down on your couch or you're sitting in a chair right now, you trust that your belief about that chair holding you up, that chair is going to hold you up, right? There's a pattern. You've sat in the chair a million times. So you firmly believe that chair is going to hold you up. And when trust tends to get broken in our world is when those set images turn out to be unreliable, right? When those set images, and the damn thing is that those images, we base our levels of trust in the world and ourselves based on what we perceive, right? And the problem is what we perceive is usually shaped by our beliefs. So if our beliefs are faulty, right? If we're telling ourselves a broken story about something, whether it be something paranormal that we're dealing with, or whether it be something, in our world that we're just handling on a day-to-day basis, if that story is busted in some way, or that filter that we're seeing things through is busted, then our level of trust starts to waver. And what I've found is that there's three different trusts that we kind of have to pay attention to. The first is trust in ourselves. The second is trust in non-physical, and the third is trust in others. And I'm going to go through each one of those, and we're going to take a look at each one and how this starts to relate into paranormal phenomenon today, because and as well what we're dealing with the pandemic and stuff like that, because ultimately I think a lot of trust in things right now in our world has really been shaken, right? We've got, we had faith that we were going to get up and go to work the next day. We had all these plans set out, and it was, we thought, oh yeah, I'm going to go for lunch with this person, or I'm going to, do these things. Now all of a sudden everything has changed. And some people, they're in the position where, they don't have a job anymore. Maybe they've been fired. Or they're in the position where they have to completely restructure things. I know everybody in the entertainment industry right now is really struggling with that, because all of us have had to really start to relook at, how do we do, like, even for myself, how do I bring you guys a show, in education and things like that, when I don't have a theater to go to. So there's a lot of trust in our physicalness, that has been either breached or challenged in some way, because those patterns and those images that we've set out in our head have turned out to be a little bit unpredictable. But so we live in a world, though, that really teaches us to trust other things other than our own internal guidance, right? Our internal selves. And that's often where, if I'm dealing with clients or I'm dealing with a haunting of some sort, this is often where I see things get messed up a little bit for people. Good morning, Gregory. Good morning, Des. It's nice to see you guys. Anybody that I've missed, good morning this morning. It's nice to see everybody coming in, and I love this. So if we all have this personal truth that we tell ourselves, and it's usually about ourselves in some way, and oftentimes people don't acknowledge what that personal truth is, but it's that truth that we tell ourselves when we're not trying to put on a mask, we're not trying to put on a face, we're just hardcore rock gut honest with who we are. And we have a personal truth, and oftentimes that personal truth is not good. It's usually, maybe I'm a bad person, or I'm negative, or I don't deserve the good things that are set out before me. I'm never going to get that job. I'll never have peace. All of these things constitute a personal truth. And when we have this sort of set experience challenged, and that broken personal truth is what's underneath of everything, it starts to really break down our not only our view of the world, but our ability to trust others, our ability to trust ourselves, and ability to trust non-physical. So when we start to look at the trust in self, I think one of the biggest things that people don't do is build an accurate database. So for example, let's use the example of a haunting, right? So we've got somebody who, let's say for example, is, hanging around in a home that has got some sort of a negative haunting in it. They're not happy. But they're kind of putting the happy face on the empty gas gauge, right? They're putting a happy face sticker on the empty gas gauge. They're freaked out, they're scared, they don't know what to do about it, but they're ignoring it. And so one of the biggest things that people don't do with themselves is tell the truth. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Are you freaked out? Are you depressed? Are you upset? Are you hurt? What is it? What is it? Tell the truth. And we struggle with this as people. We talked about this yesterday when we talked about forgiveness, and how to ask for that. and how to ask for that from ourselves as well, giving ourselves permission to do that, and give yourself permission to tell the truth about how you're feeling. And then what comes next out of that is telling the right story about it. Tell the right story about it, because so often we write a fictional account of what it is that we've experienced. So, using the idea of a haunting, if we want to take the example of somebody's experienced, a glass that's flown across a table and smashed, and the incident is over, right? Like, it happens, the incident's over, scares you, but what's funny is that when people experience something, they can either tell the story of, I saw the glass move, I saw the glass fly across the counter, and then the emotional story becomes, that was the most terrifying thing I've ever seen. I don't know how I'm going to get over that. Oh my God, that was horrifying. I better call my friends. I don't know how I'm going to move past this, so on and so forth. And their story becomes convoluted and jaded. And at that point, that's not accurate. That's not accurate. You're going to recover, right? you're going to recover. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. The incident is over. This is not the scariest thing you've ever been through. I'm sure people have been through horrible car wrecks and, horrible illnesses and terrifying experiences with, loved ones and all sorts of things like that. That's not the most terrifying thing you've ever experienced. So make sure your story, what you're telling, is accurate. What are you adding to that experience and that personal truth, for instance? Tell the truth, and make sure your language is reflecting the accuracy of what's happened. Language is so powerful. Words are so powerful, and that's one of the reasons why all the processes, or usually the processes that I get you guys to do, are all journaling and stuff like that, because writing down words and language, man, it is a big deal, and how we phrase these things, it really does matter. So, are you framing yourself as a victim? Are you telling a victim story? Because sometimes the trust in ourselves, we fight for our own limitations. We really do. We will argue somebody to the death. Somebody will, come in and believe in us over whatever it is. They will come in and say, offer a solution. As an investigator or a researcher, I run into this all the time, where we'll come in and say, actually, this place isn't haunted. Something else is going on here, and explain it, and they will fight you because they want the worst story. They want the scary story, or they don't want it to get fixed, really. So are you arguing for your own limitations? If somebody's coming to you with that kind of a solution, are you arguing for that? And it's a big deal. So, I mentioned at the beginning of self, or trusting self, is to build this accurate database. And I'm going to bring this around again when we talk about trust in other people, because the trust in other people is such a clincher for so many. But the second point of trust that I want to talk about is trusting non-physical. And people who have experienced hauntings, people who have experienced any sort of phenomenon or paranormal phenomenon in any way, can really struggle with this, because when it seems often when we're dealing with stuff like this, and when we're dealing with even things like the pandemic, when we're dealing with events that seem to come out of the blue, that trust, again, when we have these set images and this physicalness in front of us, we tend to start to rely on that, because we're so good at translating energy into physical experience, right? So this becomes really hard for people, because when they're faced with something like a haunting, or they're faced with something that they can't see, this really does shake a foundation within them. There's a paradigm change that has to happen. And that paradigm change can be really, really frightening for people. It kind of rocks the foundation of how people have learned, right? So if we've got a situation where somebody, for example, has never experienced anything like this, has been thrown around a lot by, this new idea that not everything that they are experiencing can be seen, it can be really a frightening thing. Oftentimes people like that are looking for that ability to reach out and touch or fix something in the physical environment. But the ability to fix it when it comes to this, a lot of this stuff is not out there. It's not a computer that you can take to the shop and have it fixed up, or, you know, bring something home and have it, you know, cure a problem in a house. And the paranormal is just not like that. It is, so much of it is coming from, it is inside out work, really is. And there's so much in our experiences besides the psi stuff, besides the paranormal stuff, that falls into this category as well. You know, and the idea that we can't necessarily reach out and fix it isn't always such a bad thing. The understanding of our own non-physical nature is really what has to be brought to the term of understanding. And often these situations challenge us. They challenge us to turn around and take a harder look at our relationship with what it is that is non-physical. We are so good at being able to translate the energy in our environment, right? Like we're good at being able to see colors and light and see all of these things around us, have all of these physical tangible experiences and smell the flowers and eat the food. Our senses are so good at that. We're so tuned that oftentimes we neglect that non-physical is a part of us as well. It's not something that exists out there or is separate. It is something that is continually flowing through us, and we are, by nature of being, non-physical first. But as I say, our senses get so fine-tuned into, believing that we're everything around us is solid, that it's really easy to forget that. It's really easy. So when that's challenged, when we have some sort of a non-physical experience with a haunting, or with something like a near-death experience or anything like that, then it really does get us thinking, and that challenge can be quite frightening. So Will's got a great question. So acceptance leads to more opening up to more experiences. Yeah, absolutely. When we are becoming more accepting of our own non-physical ability, and just making peace with who we are and where we are, that making peace, man, what a massive difference it makes. It takes all the resistance out, and it allows us to connect to, whatever those experiences are, and those non-physical intelligences. And that's the great thing, about stuff like meditation, or, taking a walk in nature or anything like that, is that it just allows us to to stop fighting what it is that we're fighting. And usually there's something going on. We're always, especially as adults, we're always worried about one thing or another. And the acceptance of who we are, absolutely will bring us, more connection to all of that, and it brings us closer to who we are just internally as joyous, happy beings. We lose that so often, where we think that, if we just, we dislike ourselves, or we dislike something about ourselves, and we fail to accept all of the segments, all of the pieces, all of the, that flow of who we are internally, and then we expect other people, and this is where it gets tricky, of course, trusting others. We expect other people to reflect back differently. We expect that validation back from other people. Well, how are you going to do that if you're seeing yourself as broken? How is someone else supposed to give you that back and reflect that energy back, or a positive outlook back, when the outlook that you've got is busted anyway? It can't happen. So at that point, we're asking something of others that they just can't give us. And the root of trusting in others and putting that out there is really a measure of trust that's based on how much we trust who we are and ourselves. It really has nothing to do with the other people. And it's because so many people will complain, oh, my trust was broken. Well, hold on though. How much do you trust yourself to handle what other people can do? How much do you trust yourself to be able to handle the experiences you're having in a haunted home? Do you trust yourself to handle it? And that's where it comes back to that internal dialogue. Do you trust yourself enough to be able to handle what's going on? What are you telling yourself, about these experiences? And this applies to the, to the pandemic and stuff like that also. And the fact that, what are you telling yourself is going to be happening, in the future? Are you telling the story, a doomsday story? It makes a big difference. What are you creating in your experience? Because let me tell you, it's so interesting. This is one thing I've noticed since this quarantine has been going on that I find really fascinating, is that there are some people who are, believe it or not, during this quarantine that are absolutely thriving. They're thriving. They're doing fine. They really are thriving. And it's not because they have access to more. It's not because they've gotten more, or maybe in a different position. But there's a lot of people that are thriving, and it really is to do with the story and how they're framing not only themselves, the trust in themselves, the trust in non-physical, and the trust in others. And it's such a strong foundation as to how people are moving through this quarantine. Now, when it comes to paranormal experiences, trust in others can be really tough, because of course there's a lot of people that hold either different views, or there are a lot of people that have had experiences can't, say for example, go to family or anything like that, because maybe their family is, they don't believe in this stuff, or they're they're very biased against it, or maybe they just give you a negative reaction no matter what you say. They think you're silly or whatever it is. But once we are at that point where we trust ourselves enough to handle what other people will say or do, then all those opinions, all of that buffet of opinions, that will come out of people's mouths sometimes, because there's a lot of them, especially right now, don't matter so much. And so when you've got somebody that comes and says, oh, that's stupid, oh, that's silly, or whatever, it doesn't affect you in the same way that it would if, that underlying personal truth and trust in yourself is skewed or broken. As investigators on the paranormal front, having that understanding and having the ability, for example, to go into a location and collect that unbiased information, to be able to, just gather data. I had Jan wrote into me last night and was saying, how do I do this without being judgmental of other people? It's really hard sometimes. And it can be, especially when somebody is turning around and dismissing what you're saying, and you've told them something that's really important to you and they're being dismissive. And the one thing that I tell people is that you don't necessarily have to be judgmental at all, but what you can do is gather data. You don't have to trust everybody in your experience. I mean, and that's, I don't think, is a good idea anyway. There's a lot of people that just simply don't deserve that honor of your investment or trust. But you can turn around and gather data. You can gather data. You can be a researcher, gather unbiased data about about the person. What have they done? What's their past behaviors? What does that look like? And start to base your opinion off of your research. That's not judgment. That's just being able to look at the facts and predict that next step. You get to choose how you want to participate with people. You don't have to trust them. You don't have to tell them, your life story or your paranormal story. You really don't. You get to choose how you get to participate. So no matter what we're doing in this time and space, we have to decide, is this person trustworthy, or are they going to honor who I am? If I turn around and I tell them, look, this is who I am, here's my boundaries, here's what I can accept, here's what I can't accept, here's what's going to break my heart, here's what's not, here's what I need you to do, because you need to do both. You need to tell them, what not to do, but you also have to tell them what to do. Or otherwise people just run amok in your life, and you're if you don't set those expectations, people go crazy. They go absolutely crazy. So, and it's same thing with hauntings and things like that too. But you know, to be able to do that, and you know, and gather the data, just gather data. That's it. That's all it is. It doesn't have to be judgmental. And if you know you don't like what you're seeing, or you know it doesn't feel right, then you just say it's not. I'm not okay. That's not good with me. You don't have to participate, and you don't need the other person's validation in order to make that decision. You don't have to wait on them to do different. You just say, you know what? No, that's just not me. You do what you want to do. That's cool. You can go do that, but you're not going to do it with me. It's not going to happen. So, you know, you can make those rules and boundaries, and that starts to build that trust in other people, and the people that will honor that, and you'll find, you know, will be there. And the great thing is that the more you build that trust with non-physical, the more that, and with yourself, the more you're going to find that non-physical demonstrates that trust right back and becomes more reliable, because that's what you're projecting, right? If you're projecting that, and that energy is kind of what's flowing through you and exuding towards you, then guess what? It's this, you know, you're going to turn around and have that same investment back and shown back to you. And let me tell you, it's amazing. It's amazing. You can trust non-physical, but we have to understand our role in how this functions and how this is working. Because if we don't, you know, we're always going to be able to sit back and feel like the victim that all this is going on. So it's something for you guys to consider. Anyway, a reading that I actually wanted to do with you guys today. I usually don't do this, but I thought, because this is directly pertaining to something I actually wrote. So the reading today is from my book, which is Teaching the Living, and from heartbreak to happiness in a haunted home. And I ended up writing a number of, you know, in this book, a number of pages on the idea of trust. And I wanted to break into that a little bit with you guys, because I think it's important. So in the section that's about trust in non-physical, the Zen way of thinking asks the key question: who is it that needs persuading? The idea is to question the way we experience ourselves and others before we even look at the particular negative thought or event. Our limited human perspective is often the cause of the suffering that we experience. That coupled with a very active storyteller in our head often leads us down a deep rabbit hole of misery, which could have been avoided had we the insight to stop it before it started. One way our brain does this is creating the illusion of separateness from those around us and from the energy that forms our world. It does this as a survival strategy and helps us feel control over our physical experience. The downside is that it leaves us feeling lonely, can disconnect us from our community, and stops us from feeling related to the nature and people around us. Often when we start remembering who we are, namely an inner self which is connected to a greater being, we start to re-examine some of these events in our lives with a bit more wisdom. So I think, as I say, when I wrote that, it was eye-opening for me as well, because I really wanted to accent the idea that how we are with ourselves, the story that we're telling ourselves, really does play a massive role in everything that we put out going forward. And it's really cool. So the process that I want to offer you guys today, Will is asking, is Amazon the way to buy the book? Yeah, that is the best way to go about it. It's on Amazon, pretty much most countries. I think it's in most countries, but it's only in English right now. It hasn't been translated yet, and but it's on Kindle and all the ebook readers, and paperback as well. So the process that I wanted to give you guys is, in order to start building that sense of trust of self, because so many people have been mentioning to me that they're not feeling like they can't rely on, of course, the environment right now, because things feel so up in the air. But I want you guys to start to think about and journal all the ways that you have been able to show up for you. Show up. How have you shown up and been able to trust yourself? How have you shown up for you? You know, don't worry about other people. Just think about all of the different ways that you have been able to show up for yourself. How have you done that in the past? And start to write them down. Start to write them down, and start to work that out. Because when you think about it, if you can start to build a history for yourself, about yourself, you start to be able to realize you can rely on that person. You can rely on who you are. You know, we're often so busy taking score about other people that, you know, we forget that, well, wait a minute, you know, can you rely on you? And if you're finding as you're writing that you realize that, man, I have not been good to myself, I have not been my own best friend, then that's a point, the catalyst, which you can start to change that. How can you follow through for you? So check that out and journal about that. See what you can come up with, because it's really interesting. I know some of you guys are saying you'd want a hard copy of the book with autographed or whatever. We can definitely arrange that, set that up. Just send me a message after this, and we will set that up and get those to you guys. It's no problem at all. So that being said, I have a really cool to-do for you guys today, and I thought it was so neat. When I discovered this, I thought this was the coolest thing. Okay, so I discovered online that one of the tombs of one of the queens of Egypt has been completely 3D mapped. It has been 3D mapped. So you can do a virtual tour of this incredible pyramid thanks to Harvard University. They have mapped this thing. It is absolutely incredible. And I've never seen a tour like this. It's not like one of the YouTube tours or anything like that. This is like fully interactive. Like you click where you want to go, and you can like navigate the entire tomb, and multiple layers. Like there's multiple levels of this tomb. Like it's just huge. And you can kind of go all throughout and explore this. And as I said, it's all thanks to Harvard University. So I'm going to post a link to that on the Entity Seeker Facebook page so you guys can check it out. It is so neat. I was spending like 20-30 minutes on this thing, going around in circles and going into like all these different places, and gives you information, and it's amazing. It's really cool. So I'm gonna post that for you guys today. So that being said, we have our health affirmations to do, because I forgot them yesterday. I was so like enthused with our topic yesterday that I completely forgot. So we have to do them today. And for those of you guys who are new here, because I've noticed there's a few new names popping up, you guys can grab all of the past spiritual healthcare classes if you've missed any, or you want to go back on something and re-listen to it on youtube.com/entityseeker or entityseeker.ca. Every day after the classes, I try to put the most current class up as fast as I can, but they're all on there. There's like 30 plus days of classes. So if you need to go back on them, they are there. And subscribe so that you get the notifications, right? Okay, so health affirmations, everybody. Everybody take a breath. It is natural for my body to be well. Even if I don't know what to do in order to get better, my body does. I have trillions of cells with individual consciousness, and they know how to achieve individual balance. When this condition began, I didn't know what I know now. I don't need to understand the cause of this illness. I only have to gently, eventually release this illness. It doesn't matter how it got started, because it's reversing its course right now. And there's no hurry about any of this. My body knows what to do. Well-being is natural to me. My inner being is intricately aware of my physical body. My cells are asking for what they need in order to thrive, and Source is answering those requests. I am in very good hands. My only work is to relax and breathe, and I can do that easily. Everybody take a breath. Thank you guys so much for another amazing morning of spiritual healthcare. Tomorrow, we are going to be going through the Smurl case. The Smurl family case. For those of you guys who have not heard of that, check it out. We're going to be talking about that and its implications, as well as different modes of, investigating and empowerment. We're going to be talking a lot about empowerment and how to create that and how to do that. So we're gonna go through as I say, a case study, plus talk about what that means in terms of empowerment and stuff like that, and moving forward, because every case that we talk about, everything it's a teaching tool. It really is, like, all of these different aspects of all of these different paranormal cases and stuff like that. Let me tell you, there's teaching in all of this stuff. There really is. It's not just in relation to paranormal phenomenon and stuff like that. There's so much in there. So yeah, don't miss tomorrow, right here, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, spiritual healthcare. Please make sure, as I say, you guys are sharing this. Let people know. Send me your topics, questions, whatever you guys want to talk about. I want to chat about it with you, so please send it to me. However, Facebook, Twitter, it's all there. So anyway, guys, have a wonderful rest of your day. I hope your weather is amazing. Open your windows, and I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Bye, guys.